And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Friday, March 27th. And it doesn't feel like March 27th out there. We've got temperatures in the teens and wind chills in the single digits. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. We took a step back in seasons from a nice mild start to the week, Bridgette, to now it feels more like winter out there. Even a little bit of snow.
A little snow overnight here. That morning wind this morning was raw.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was great. If what? If you're a goose flying south?
It's great for me.
Yeah.
Slept with my window wide open.
Oh.
It was some of the best sleep I've had.
Wow. That's all I can say.
You earned that good night's sleep, by the way, Addison. Yesterday was a big day. We had a lot going on in regards to the WDAY Radio Farm Show. Thank you, Addison, for all your work behind the scenes. You kept the whole ship afloat. Much appreciated that you were able to do that. Thank you to our interns that were here, sponsored by Cass County Farm Bureau. They did an outstanding job of helping out in so many different ways, whether it was interviewing guests, taking care of giveaways, and just managing things behind the scenes as well. And to all of our guests and sponsors, you guys were the rock stars, the experts, and so much more. So again, thanks everyone. Yesterday was a lot of fun. And if you have questions about what you heard, comments, good and bad, would love all the feedback, please go ahead and send that to me. And you can do that. My inbox, powered by Superior Grain Equipment, is ag@flagfamily.com. Or call us.
Yeah, that was a good show yesterday and a lot of great guests. And you've got a couple of great interns there that were working with you too, Bridgette. I'll tell you what, they're a couple of it gives promise to our future when we have bright kids like that. That's for sure.
All the time. They were true professionals. And if you want to go back and watch what we had done yesterday, you can. Those links are live. You can find those on WDAY's Facebook and YouTube pages as well. Today, our live stream is brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities. That is going to put us on Acres TV, Facebook, and YouTube once again. And for anybody who wants to call and give their comments, you can do that on the JLA Insurance phone line today, 701-293-9000.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, we've got that roller coaster ride in temperatures continues. It's been going on for over a week now, and I don't really see much change over the next 7 days. We've got up and down, and today is one of the downsides. We're pretty chilly out there with temperatures in the teens. We've had a few snow showers move through. The back edge of the snow showers now pushing into Lakes Country, and we should start to see more sunshine as we head throughout the afternoon. It's going to remain breezy, though, with northwest winds 10 to 25, and highs today only around 30, so we'll be in the 20s most of the day here. And again, those winds a little on the breezy side. Tonight we'll drop down to 20 and then see temperatures steady to slowly rise towards morning as southerly winds kick in, and that will lead to a much warmer day. Mid to upper 50s for your Saturday, but it will be breezy with southwest winds, about 10 to 25 and a little gusty. And then as we head into Sunday, winds shift to the north. We'll cool it off a few degrees back into the low 50s, but then we're back up into the upper 50s on Monday. Now, next week, a little concern late next week. We've got a weak weather system coming in here on Tuesday. That'll give us a little rain-snow mix. It looks pretty minor, but it will drag down colder weather into the 30s for Tuesday, and then chilly weather for the rest of next week, it looks like. And there's another potential storm towards the end of the week. That's the one I'm more concerned about. If you have any travel plans in the Dakotas or Minnesota, please keep up to date on the forecast, as there will be some measurable snow across parts of the tri-state area. Where exactly that falls, it's too early to tell right now. Our models are all over the place, but the potential is there for some measurable snow that could pose a problem with travel. So, again, hopefully this storm comes out in a couple of weaker pieces, and then we don't have to worry about that. But, again, it's something we're keeping an eye on for the end of next week. So, up until then, that up and down roller coaster ride of weather.
Well, it's a way to end National Ag Week because it feels like we have had every different type of weather we possibly could. So maybe we were trying to represent all of our seasons or all of our climates in just 6 days.
we're doing a good job of it. That's for sure.
Just it's anybody's story. We can tell it how we'd like.
That's right. That's right.
As we wind down National Ag Week, fun fact, 38% of the land on the earth is used for agriculture. Anybody think it was a higher or a lower number than that? But 38%.
I thought it'd be. Are you talking the globe, or you said the U.S.?
Nope, this is around the globe.
I can believe it.
I thought it would be more than that, to be honest.
Lots of water.
Well, okay.
This is true. Yep.
This just asked about land, but if you think about water, like aquaculture, fishing, etc., then I think we could expand that number, don't you?
Absolutely.
Addison, I saved this fun fact just for you.
Uh-oh.
The world's largest pumpkin has weighed in over 2,700 pounds, more than a small car.
Where was that grown at?
Someone's going to make a very large pumpkin pie
Yes,
shortly.
I was not given the state where that was grown or which country, just simply that was the world record holder, is now over 2,700 pounds.
Wow. Whew. That'd be fun just to grow. It's just.
Where do you even grow a pumpkin that big?
I want to know the dimensions, like how big or small, right? I mean, what's the diameter on that thing? What does it look like?
And what are they feeding that thing? That's woof.
Whatever it wants.
Yes. Right.
That's what they're feeding it.
Trick-or-treaters.
Small children are involved in that. Oh, goodness. Speaking of kids, if you want to support them, the Brown County, Illinois FFA alumni is having an auction today. You can find that auction on kerauction.com. If you happen to download Kerr's app, which you can do for free, it's a free app, there's a couple of things you can do. You can bid on things on the FFA alumni auction. Anytime you are bidding on any farm equipment auctions, you can go ahead and use this app because it saves you on the bidder's fees. And lastly, tonight with their banquet that's going on ahead of the auction, you get the opportunity to listen to their guest speaker. So if you want to download the Kerr, Kerr auction app, and you can participate in all those things. Plus, you can just do a little bit of bidding for a good cause. And that's for the Brown County, Illinois FFA alumni and supporters meeting tonight. Okay, other ag things that are going on. So I got a lot here. Maybe I'm behind because we were so busy yesterday. All right. There is an Iowa-based equipment manufacturer by the name of Vermeer. Okay. And they have decided that they're going to be building a new 300,000 square foot facility in the state of Iowa. It's not very often that we currently have equipment manufacturers in an expansion plan. Most of them are a little more concerned about cutting costs. Well, with what they're going to be doing with Vermeer, that plant will manufacture industrial parts and equipment for their cutting edge business. This means for trenchers, the booms and the cutting teeth that a trencher uses to make the actual trench, that'll be done there. In horizontal directional drilling, there's an incredibly important product line for Vermeer right there. And that tooling that goes on the front of the drill stem and the tooling that would open up the hole is actually being built right there. This is all going to be happening again in Iowa near Pella. The facility will also have a full spectrum manufacturing capability that can do machining, welding, painting, and so much more. We often think about Vermeer when it comes to balers, but actually they specialize not only in agricultural but underground construction, surface mining, tree care, and environmental equipment. So they have a much bigger product line. Vermeer has about 80% of their business on the industrial side of their business, and so the goal is to have this facility operational in 2027. When they said machining in that article, something that reminded me that one of our guests yesterday, we were talking about 3D printers. We have Hall Precision Machine down by Milner was on air with us, and they have a 3D printer, which of course is one of the up and coming items that people are using in farm shops right now. And he said it's not just about doing plastics when you think about 3D printing. They're looking towards the future with aluminum and stainless steel and being able to print out of those materials very soon. So incredibly useful for what you'd be doing on the farm, but also it just opens up this whole new realm of what you were doing before and how you can advance that where I don't have to go buy parts. I might be able to print some of my parts at home. Maybe you're working on vintage cars and tractors. Maybe you are looking at it for farm equipment. If you run a dairy or any other livestock operation, things break when you have livestock. They break a lot. So this could be a big help for all of them. I thought that was a pretty interesting side note about what they are using for materials.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I was excited to hear that as one of the things we had to share. One of our guests from yesterday was Greg Hansen. He was with Hansen Agro Commodities, and Greg's going to be joining us coming up here in just a few minutes. He joins us on Fridays at 1:20 for a segment called Market Uncovered. We're going to recap some of the things that have been happening in the grain market this week, and probably even a couple of things from yesterday that you might have missed. We're going to do that with Greg after the livestock report from the American Ag Network. It is time for Market Uncovered with Greg Hansen, Hansen Agri Commodities. Okay, Greg, I hope that you can help a little bit to cover what this topic is about. I've got a learning moment here. Is it called the Mercosur deal? That's the European Union and South American countries making an alliance on trade, particularly in agricultural products. Okay, do you have a little bit of background on that? And then, of course, what does that do to impact U.S. grains and so forth?
Well, I mean, everyone's dealing with everyone. All with all the tariffs going on, trade alliances are changing. Our
Mhm.
closest trading partners are Canada and Mexico. We had the NAFTA, then it changed to the USMCA. It's scheduled to get redone again. But when you look at with this administration's tariff policy, you are seeing some countries saying, I'll try and go do and deal with somebody else. So there's a lot of partners are changing. Dance partners are changing as we speak. We've always seen trade with Europe and South America, but there might be some things where we're maybe indirectly pushing them together on certain commodities. So it's an ever changing trade environment out here, just all over the globe. It's not just South Americans and Europe; it's the Asians and everyone else.
And we're just restructuring what all of our global trade has forever looked like. And is there a historical background to this? Like, how long does it take before things settle down, or is it just such uncharted territory? We don't really know.
I mean, usually things don't change as fast, but if you look at since trade, since Trump's Liberation Day or Tariff Day or whatever you want to call it, there's been 5,000 different trade tariff changes here in the U.S. with different countries. So everything is just up in the air, and business doesn't like uncertainty. So I think what you are seeing is there maybe are some countries or businesses that are saying, well, I used to deal with the U.S., but I don't know what to expect anymore, and so I need more stability, and I might just go find somebody else to deal with. They may have to pay a premium for that potentially, but like I say, just the dance partners are changing all over the globe because of what's going on with our trade policy with everyone else.
And Greg, do you see this settling down at all if this conflict with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz opens up? Will that once that calms down or gets settled, will that change anything down the road?
I mean, these are all opinions. My own
Mhm.
personal bias is it might create, what's this look like when it's done in Iran? That's the first question. And, do we get some help from someone who we maybe haven't traded with as much in the past, and Trump will give them some preferential treatment? That could happen. If someone maybe isn't as helpful as he wants, and does he have the ability to maybe, make trade a little more difficult? We just don't know. My own personal bias is that as long as he's in office, trade will be up in the air. My fear is by the time he's out of office, will some of these new trade deals be done, between like the Mercosur, between Europe and South America, where okay, we were trading with company or country X, and now when Trump is done and out of office, and if you get someone who's maybe not as tariff driven, is it, we want to go make a deal with them? Well, it's too late. We already got to deal with somebody else. I mean, we just don't know.
We always think about what's the next big governmental report, right? We know WASD and some of the other reports that come out of USDA can be impactful to the market. When's the next one? Or is this kind of a time of the year where those reports don't mean as much as maybe they did back in the fall?
Well, actually, we got a really big one coming on Tuesday. Probably one of the top 3 reports of the year.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. I'm not a good grain marketer.
Well, so I mean, we've been talking acres for weeks and weeks and weeks. We are going to get that first piece of the puzzle next Tuesday. So whatever farmers were thinking 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that's the number we see on the 31st. So that is the first big piece of the puzzle. Average guess right now on acres is corn about 94.5 million. which would be down a little over 4 million acres. Average guess on beans is about 85 and a half. That'll be up roughly just over 4 million. My personal guesses are fairly close to that. But here, that'll be the first piece of the puzzle, because then we can start figuring where those acres at, figure trend line yields, and we can start, kind of creating a balance sheet to see what next year looks like. And then there's also a quarterly stocks report on Tuesday as well. Since the ethanol boom 20 years ago, it's really difficult to try to outguess what that corn quarterly stocks number will be. And so I don't even try. It's like throwing a darts at a wall, trying to outguess it. But the quarterly stocks are important because it's our only way to somehow track corn use when it comes to feed side.
Okay.
And my fear is that feed residual number on the balance sheet looks awful big compared to the animal units out here, compared to the yield we had. My fear is we get a quarterly stocks report 4 times a year. So we got this one coming. We'll have one June 30th and one in September. Typically, the government will only change the feed residual number after a quarterly stocks. What if they find some extra corn laying around because we maybe didn't feed as much as they thought? That's kind of my fear at some point. But, this is the first time where maybe that could happen. I'll have to see. That's why it's such a big report on Tuesday.
My answer to that is if they find more grain, not again. That just cratered things last fall. I mean, where are we hiding all this stuff? But like you said, maybe we just didn't feed as much.
Well, I think that's some of it. I mean, here again, another opinionated, my opinion is I personally think the U.S. crop is too big for what they're showing. Doesn't matter what I think. That's the number, and that's what's going to trade. Now, my personal bias is also, I think the Minnesota and the Dakota yields were bigger than what they showed us. There is just a lot of corn here in the Northwest, and beans for that matter, here in the Northwest corn bean belt. And so I say where I think we have a lot of the corn that's around, I think the overall yield was off. It doesn't matter. We got to go with the number the government gave us. That's what everyone's going to trade.
You know what? Just based on what you said, there's more corn up here than you think. Maybe one day we won't just be considered fringe acres.
Well, we are becoming more of the corn belt, in the northern Minnesota and the Dakotas all the time. You look at the spring wheat crop that we raise, and we seem to have issues with quality more and more as we go forward. Doesn't matter if it's a falling number problem, vomitoxin problem, all of these issues. When you think about it, it's a lot more humid in the summer than it used to be. This is corn and bean growing weather. It's not so much small grain weather anymore. So there's times where we say, hey, northern Minnesota and the Dakotas are fringe belt corn bean acres, but we're becoming part of the main corn belt, more and more every year.
Greg, you joined us yesterday for our WDAY radio farm show, and I want to say thank you. Normally we talk about grains, but you stepped in yesterday to talk about livestock, particularly beef production, and it was incredibly well received by listeners. Thank you for being a part of that. Now, you just said WASDE report's coming out on Tuesday, March 31st. That's going to be a big deal, but unfortunately next Friday is Good Friday, so we won't be on air for Weather and Ag in Focus. So hold all your information. When we talk to you again here in April, I'm going to have lots of questions based off that report, what we saw for reactions in the market, and so much more. So Greg, where can folks find you in the meanwhile so that they can ask you questions as well?
Well, the easiest way is just give me a call. My number is 507-338-6433. You can always kind of check us out on our webpage, which is hansen-ag.com. And you can always go and kind of look us up on Facebook.
Thank you for the wealth of information that you bring every Friday for Market Uncovered. I'm going to miss not hearing from you next Friday, but we will reconvene with you right after that on April 10th. For others, we're going to catch the bottom of the hour news and return with more headlines and weather from Dean. Stay tuned.
And welcome back to
Hey,
Weather.
Addison.
Welcome back
I
to
was going to ask Addison if it's nice to have our regular stuff back, Dean, because yesterday I kept giving him all sorts of different music to play, and he said it got a little nuts over there. So does he
Really?
feel more
Should have heard all
comfortable
the
today?
music that was playing.
Well, yeah, but that was that was good. That was good music, correct?
That's a lot of work playing music.
It's
I have to turn my chair 90 degrees, click 2 buttons,
my
press
good.
another.
Are you okay today? You've got to be wiped
I'm
out.
very winded.
You are. I bet you
He
your
said-
fingers hurt and everything.
He said going from Frank Sinatra to Bachman Turner Overdrive is something he'd like me to never do to him again.
It was a lot that early in the morning. It was a lot to deal with.
Which Frankie song?
I did it my way.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. See that little BTO? Nothing wrong with that. That's a good mix. That's a good mix, a wide variety. And speaking of wide variety, we got a wide variety of temperatures and weather over the next week or so, as that roller coaster ride. And March is a very volatile month. I mean, we can have anything from severe weather to blizzards. So it's that's the transition month as we go from winter into spring. And Mother Nature, she usually shows a couple of big storms during the month of March into early April. And although I'm not looking at anything big, at least at this standpoint, the potential is there of something a little more significant late next week where severe weather could erupt in the Central Plains, and looks like a snow event is possible somewhere in the Northern Plains. So that's something we'll be keeping an eye on for later next week. But for today, we're still looking at a lot of clouds hanging onto the area, but there is more and more sunshine off to our west, and that will move into the area as we head towards mid-afternoon. And the temperature is really not going to respond a whole lot. We'll be in the 20s to near 30 most of the day, and it's not going to feel like it with those winds producing wind chills in the single digits out of the northwest at about 10 to 25. The winds will relax towards evening, and then they'll actually turn to the south as we head into the overnight hours. So we'll drop down to a low near 20 and then see temperatures rising towards morning. And that will lead to a much warmer day on Saturday. The weekend looks really mild. Now, I wish we could have it without the wind, but, well, can't get everything. But Saturday's going to be pretty breezy with southwest winds gusting over 25. But that'll help push the mercury up into the mid to upper 50s. And Sunday, the winds turn to the north, but they won't be that strong. So it'll be a lighter north breeze, but it'll knock a few degrees back into the low to mid 50s. Still mild. Again, our normal highs this time of the year should be in the lower 40s. And then as we head into next week, we'll be back into the upper 50s to near 60 on Monday. And then we'll be keeping an eye on a weak system that'll quickly move through the area on Tuesday. That'll give us some colder weather, maybe a rain or snow shower. It doesn't look like a big deal, with temperatures falling back into the 30s on Tuesday. And then as we head into the rest of the week, we'll be keeping an eye again on a potential bigger system towards the end of next week into that Easter weekend. So again, that's a good 7-8 days away. So we'll iron out those details early next week. Our models, honestly, are all over the board on that system for next week. But the setup is conducive for a bigger storm system for the end of next week into Easter weekend. So I know people have travel plans, I'm sure, over Easter weekend, and you're going to want to definitely keep up to date on the forecast.
Well, if you get snowed in somewhere, one of the things you could do is make sure to do your fence check assessment with Tech Support Farm. Go to techsupport.farm and take a little look. What might be some of the best practices for your better cybersecurity on farm and agribusiness? Chris Sherman can help you out over there. So again, go to techsupport.farm and take that fence check assessment, and he'll follow up with you in about 24 hours as to help you answer your questions. If you won any of our prizes yesterday, particularly some great things from 3M, we were giving away a number of gift packages. Also, there was a couple of grinder wheel kits that were going out. Make sure you stop and pick those up at our front desk. They are ready for you. They are ready between the hours of 8 and 5, and your name is on them. You got a chance to come pick those up. And if you won recently, well, you got to wait another 30 days before you give her a try. But thanks for all those people who are calling in. We gave away everything from rodeo tickets to mystery bags of things and so much more. In fact, one lady was very excited for our surprise gift of a $100 gift card to Alsager Meats from Josh Alsager, who was one of our guests yesterday. She was driving right to Fargo to go pick that up at the store
Oh,
and buy
perfect.
more. So it was a great plan on her part. I was very happy for her. The Minnesota Department of Ag is, through its Minnesota Grown program, is launching their third year of the Cream of the Crop Awards. That's for farm to school and early care. This award recognizes the K through 12 school districts, early care centers, as well as family daycare providers for their leadership, where they are serving, promoting, and teaching about Minnesota grown foods. Now, this is a way to connect school gardens as well as local farmers into community events, put menu items on school menus that are featuring Minnesota foods. There's no one way to do this. The creativity is fantastic, and it really shines a spotlight on so many school districts and early child care providers who are supporting farmers in their region. So 3 Cream of the Crop winners have been School District of the Year and also an Early Care Center of the Year, as well as a Family Daycare Center of the Year. In addition, there are applicants who can receive outstanding in the field honors like a golden drumstick, a silver squash, and the bronze berry. So applicants will be able to nominate their Minnesota grown producer for being an exceptional partner in this program. So if you would like to submit applications for the Cream of the Crop page on the Minnesota Grown website, you can. Also, you can look at that partnership between Minnesota Grown's program and the Minnesota Farm to Kids Alliance, and that's on the Minnesota Department of Ag's Farm to School Early Care Overview webpage. Anytime you're looking for those links, you can always email me, ag@flagfamily.com, and I'm happy to share links with folks so that you can get to the right place and don't miss out on any of that information. Speaking of information, particularly for farmers, we had a farmer panel yesterday with 3 producers on it, and we didn't even get to all the questions that would have been excellent to bring up. We just simply ran out of time. One of the areas that I wanted to discuss was USDA's launching the One Farmer, One File. So what is this, right? They are rolling out this modernization effort on how USDA interacts with farmers and trying to reduce paperwork. So One Farmer, One File means all of your farm information is supposed to be through USDA programs in one file that can be accessed, whether it's through the Farm Service Agency, Natural Resources Conservation Service, known as the NRCS, or any other department. So it's supposed to be a single streamlined record that follows you, the farmer, no matter where you go, through USDA systems. Prior attempts to solve this problem have cost over $500 million, and it wasn't effective. It did not create programs that allowed interface action between the agencies. So we're hoping to see that this would actually show some improvement. If you're already wanting to use a third-party service and the only one approved by USDA when it comes to sending information not only to FSA, but also in your crop insurance to RMA, Risk Management Agency, the only one that's allowed to do that has been MyAgData. You can go to myagdata.com and see what they're talking about, how they can help you with that accuracy and reporting, can save you time by not having to go to multiple FSA offices, can save you money by accurately reporting your crop insurance, and then being able to take that in for your premiums anyway, then being able to take that information and move it forward when you are buying fertilizer, seed, etc., and you know really your actual planted acres. You own your data regardless of how you choose to do this. It belongs to the farmer. And also, I think that it's important to note that already there's about 38,000 farmers that have signed up to use the One Farmer, One File. How much more accuracy will it be? Remains to be seen. This is kind of just getting rolling. So keep your eyes peeled for what may change. If you still like going to the FSA office, you can. Probably just have to go ahead and make that appointment and keep things going. So other questions and so forth, again, you can send me those emails, ag@flagfamily.com. All right, we are going to take a moment to catch up with some of our sponsors, but when we return, a few more headlines we want to cover as well here in Weather and Ag in Focus.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus on this finally Friday, and it doesn't feel like late March. We've got temperatures in the 20s out there with a wind chill of 10 above, courtesy of a northwest wind between 10 and 20. Now, the good news is we're going to see more sunshine as we head through the afternoon. So that'll help a little bit, but the winds are still going to be a little on the breezy side. They'll start to lighten up as we head towards evening hours. But the highs today only around the freezing mark, and then down into the low 20s tonight before we see temperatures rise towards morning, courtesy of southerly winds increasing, and that will lead to a breezy but mild Saturday, mid-upper 50s across the area. Not too shabby. And Sunday, winds will turn to the north a little lighter, and we'll see still mild temperatures into the 50s. So a nice mild weekend. I'll take the cruddy weather during the week if we can have nice weekends. And then as we start off next week, we'll start it off mild on Monday, and then a weak weather system will blast through here Monday night into Tuesday with a little mixed precip, followed by colder weather next Tuesday. And again, the potential, not a guarantee, but the potential is there of a more significant storm system as we head towards the end of next week. There will be a storm. The question is the exact track of it. How does it affect the northern plains? It looks like the potential for a severe weather outbreak down into the central plains and into the Great Lakes region. So, again, depending on the strength and track of that system at the end of the week, could be some measurable snow in the northern plains, which could impact travel. And with the holiday weekend coming up, that could impact some people that are doing any traveling across the northern plains. So, again, that would be late next week. So if you're doing any traveling, you want to keep up to date on the forecast, and we'll fine-tune that as we head into next week. Bridgette?
Well, when you think about weather, we have to think of in this region about snow loads and so forth. And if you're planning a new building project, talk to Anderco, andercoenterprises.com, because they have strength that's built to last. If you're thinking about new steel, commercial, industrial, ag buildings of any sort, might be on the farm or in any other business, agribusiness operations as well. For the past 20 years, Anderco Enterprises has been trusted by farmers across the region because they have a reputation built on experience, reliability, and results. So give them a call at 701-277-7078. As this weather has been fluctuating, one of the things that's been happening is the changes on the grain that's in storage. So think about this. On a winter day, the outdoor air could fluctuate by potentially 25 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And that happens a lot. Addison would like it to be falling, not rising. We know that.
It's true.
Okay. And that warms the bin and then the grain that's next to the wall during the day, but then it all cools down at night. So the result in those metal bins and the grain near the bin wall will be average temperature. The same can occur during extended warm period that's followed by a cool or cold period. So the temperature will be near the average of those two periods. Grain's an insulator. The grain temperature fluctuation is limited to the grain next to the bin wall. So dry grain that's been cooled by 20 or 30 degrees in northern regions really shouldn't be affected by these fluctuating temperatures. Now, solar energy produces more than twice as much heat gain on the south side of a bin wall in the spring than it does in the summer. So this, along with solar heat gain on a bin roof, can create an environment that's very conducive to grain spoilage. A 10-degree temperature increase reduces the allowable storage time of grain by half. This is why farmers are out checking bins as we see temperatures fluctuate. How much did that temperature rise or fall? Is this creating a heating in the grain? So, for example, the storage time of corn at 17% moisture is reduced from about 130 days at 50 degrees to more like 75 days at 60 degrees, and then only 45 days at 70 degrees. So if the stored grain is dry, it's recommended that you periodically run your aeration fans in the spring to keep the grain below 40 degrees as long as possible through the beginning of the summer. In your northern states, nighttime air is normally near or below 30 degrees in April, 40 degrees in May. Dean says that's just going to be all over the board now, so we don't even know if we can keep track of that. Frost and ice play a factor here because they can block the bin vents when the fan's operational at temperatures near or below freezing. That leads to roof damage on your bins. So you need to leave the fill and the access door open as like a pressure relief valve when you're operating that fan at the temperatures that might be near or below freezing. When you're not operating the fan, cover it up. that can prevent warm air from blowing into the bin or even being drawn in like a chimney effect into that stored grain. Grain warms up, and now all of a sudden you can also see more bugs and pests infesting that grain. Nobody likes bugs in the grain. Nobody likes hot spots in the grain bin. And there are times where you know that if grain's not being monitored well, you actually have seen bins that darken on the outside, like there's so much heat that it changes the color of the metal, almost like it's cooking from the inside out. Grain that's heated like that is not something that's salvageable to sale, because if you were trying to process that into a food ingredient, it would have that bitter, burned taste that already goes along with it. Livestock don't want to eat that, right? You don't want to eat burned food, right? Well, neither do cows or pigs. So that's another reason why we don't want grain to go out of quality. And as much as people want to tell us that bugs are a great source of additional protein, I don't like bugs in my grain. I don't like bugs in my flour bin, in my kitchen, etc., etc. Same concept, right? So you got to be paying attention to this. There are systems where you can get sensors that go into your bins that monitor your temperature, your moisture, and so forth, and can tell you if things are about to become out of spec, so to speak, and you got to turn fans on and off and make some changes happen as well. So, all right, with all your temperature changes that are going on, Dean, you got to be watching those grain bins a lot more closely as well.
Sounds like
That's
it.
just one thing. Yeah. All right, and as we talked about a lot of planter technology yesterday, there are some things that I think are just really fascinating. Residue on your fields. So let's say after a corn crop or after wheat, you have stubble, right? So that's your residue. Well, particularly with corn, you can have a lot of residue mass that's left on the field. In that situation, when you're trying to plant, that residue mass, trash, whatever you want to call it, can be too much for your planter to get good settings to plant your corn kernels evenly, and that allows for better germination. When they're planted evenly, they're well spaced, they're at the right depth. If you have all this trash, that interferes with it. So there is something called furrow vision, and that is a solution brought to planters from John Deere. And what that can do is it can identify how much of that residue is impacting the furrow or the trench where you put the seed. And literally, it allows you to manually optimize your row cleaners, because there are little features on your planter that toss residue out of the furrow so you can have a clean seed bed where you're planting. So there are actually 3 in-furrow cameras mounted on that planter that move and show real-time sectional views of what's going on in the furrow, as well as depth measurement readings, and then a residue detection filter, as well as a quality map, and it all shows up for you in the cab so you can make some of those adjustments on the fly. This goes along with so many other things like we talked about yesterday, whether it's with downforce, we talked about speed tubes on planters, and just some of the technology that we continue to see coming forward every year that make us more efficient at what we're doing when it comes to putting that crop in the ground. Not to mention the things that we see on tractors. So just little educational tidbits as we wrap up National Ag Week here at WDAY, Weather and Ag in Focus. It's been a great week, and looking forward to what we tackle next week, Dean.
Absolutely. And that'll do it for today's Weather and Ag in Focus. Hope everybody has a great weekend. It's going to be a warmer one, so get out and enjoy it. But don't go anywhere just yet. The Jay Thomas Show, it's coming up next.